I feel especially those who are privileged enough to grow up in the faith, have an extra sparkle. I'm sorry. Like, you just appear to be happier. And you appear to love your family and your kids and your spouse. And you also appear to be very happy to be at church every Sunday. But again,
unless it's 9 a.m. I'm not too happy with
that.
Yeah. Oh, and I think so often when people say the church, sometimes what they actually mean is my dad.
Did you know that Mormons probably know who your great-grandpa is? Yes, you, watching the video currently. Learning about your ancestors and learning where you came from. That's not a Mormon thing. That's a human experience thing.
It's so much better than being bitter and sad.
But if we're talking about the vibe, what's wrong with people who are happy?
I love that a subheading for the article says, "This lady escaped the Mormon church in 2017. Escaped? Kind of a wrong word choice.
Why?
So I love that you know you belong to a dangerous cult when in order to escape, you just sleep in on Sunday.
The following is an episode of Ward Radio and does not represent the thoughts or the opinions of KHTS, its owners, or any of its affiliates, nor does it represent the official opinion of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. With that said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the program.
Welcome. We are the women of Ward Radio. We are broadcasting to you from the Relief Society room. I'm joined today with Riley, the writing raven.
Ooh, yeah, I like that.
And Megan, master of love and the law. Thank you. And we have Charlotte, mother to the sixth power, also family historian of Turning Little Hearts fame. And we have Brittany, the shadow, also Boho Birdie on the DL, or is that?
No, you can say that.
Thing. And there's me. I'm Tikla, and we have no idea how I got in here, but I'm so honored to be here with these women. And we're going to chat about some stuff we found that relates to the church, and we're going to chat all about it. So first up, we've got...
Okay, hold on. Can I interject for just a second, Tikla? Okay. Have you guys noticed that we all look identical? Isn't that amazing?
Oh my goodness.
Like, what? Wait, who just said that?
Like, look at Megan and I. Like, we... Honestly, people mistake us for each other all the time. Like when Cardin and Kwaku, when I'm with them in LA, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you guys are identical. I never knew. Oh my gosh. Right? Because we all look so identical. Isn't that just
so
crazy?
true? In
That
fact,
face.
3 of us have very similar hair colors. So
Yes.
like, am I looking in a mirror at the moment? Like,
Don't
what?
you feel like that? We're all looking in the same mirror. Yeah, it's just...
I totally feel it.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear what people have to say about that, for sure. We have a clip about Mormon face.
Have you ever wondered why certain people look Mormon? I see this all over social media where certain content creators get tons of comments saying you look very Mormon. Mormons really only marry other Mormons. You can't marry in a Mormon temple unless it's 2 Mormons getting married. This, in large part, has made it so that the gene pool is actually very small, and especially in a place like Utah, where Mormons fled and went to Utah to be able to practice polygamy in peace. Those Mormons were only making babies.
That's not why we fled. Thank you very much.
We were getting killed.
We were getting killed, massacred. It's fine. Not really because we wanted to practice polygamy, but cool.
Semantics, you know? I don't know.
Very long time. And the only opportunity to make the gene pool a little larger is to convert people. I think another reason for this is not just the way Mormons look, but it's also the Mormon vibe, which is often super hyper friendly, almost too friendly. Mormons are taught to proselytize and share their religion. I think that Mormon culture is very copycat. Mormons believe that there is something called the straight and narrow path, which gives you a very strict outline for how you're supposed to live your life. And while that might not have anything to do with a Stanley Cup, it does create the sense that there is one right way to do things.
Okay. So what do you have to say? Is this true?
That's why I served a missionist, so that I could expand the gene pool and help all of our faces look more different. That's why I served. The truth comes out.
Thank you for your service, Charlotte.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if I may, You all are, I hope you don't get demonetized or anything. You all are fine AF. And like, go to Urban Dictionary if you don't know what AF stands for. Basically, when I was investigating the church, one of the most beautiful things is how members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints show up to praise God. You dress up. Your men wear jackets and ties. Your kids are all coordinated. The women have their makeup done and they have their perfectly modest, adorable dresses. Yeah, you all show up and you look good. I don't know if that's necessarily something to bash.
I just feel like sometimes it's just like we all like look like we took a shower, maybe. Like that's what we have in common. Like, because, okay, I'll say this, because I think what she's trying to get at a little bit here is that, you know, we were isolated, which is true. And a lot of the early saints, well, most of them were from Europe and Scandinavia. And so we all kind of have this homogenous look in Utah or whatever. The trouble with that now, like maybe that would have held up before, but now only 14% of members of the church live in Utah. And so we don't all look like Ryan Gosling anymore.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was thinking. As I'm like,
diverse.
If you're talking about the church in general, like what about, well, the people who are members of the church in South America, they all look like South Americans. So that's crazy. People from Scandinavia look like Scandinavians. You look like who you're around. So, I mean, that's true of everyone if we're going looks alone. But if we're talking about the vibe, what's wrong with people who are happy? That's so sad.
I know. Okay.
I love that she says, yeah, Ryan Gosling's got that face too. It's like, oh, wait, you think you're comparing us to Ryan Gosling?
Yeah,
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
I'll take
offended. So yeah, you think I look good and I'm happy.
Do you guys remember the Hey Girl memes from forever ago? The Ryan Gosling Hey Girl memes? Those were great.
Yes.
So I grew up, or I didn't grow up, but I spent some time living in Saipan, which is in Micronesia. It's like one island over from Guam, if you're familiar. And let me tell you, because I think she's trying to debunk they have a light in their eyes. That's how you can tell that, because they have that glow, you know, and that's a little cringy. Like, I get it. But when I lived on Saipan, where it was like the ultimate melting pot of cultures, we had all of coastal Asia and all of Micronesia all blended into this island. And the members of the church would still get called out as, oh, are you Mormon? Are you a member of the church? Because there was just something different about us. And it wasn't just because we were white and looked like Ryan Gosling. Like, I'm sorry, there was something else to it. And maybe we can like go through, like, what do you think it is? How can you spot a Mormon or a Latter-day Saint, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saint member? What is it?
Honest to goodness, were you offended hearing her say that? Like, if somebody came up to me and said all black people look the same, I would be a little offended. But I will say, members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, I feel especially those who are privileged enough to grow up in the faith, have an extra sparkle. I'm sorry. Like, you just appear to be happier. And you appear to love your family and your kids and your spouse. And you also appear to be very happy to be at church every Sunday. But again,
unless it's 9 a.m. I'm not too happy with that.
We had 8 a.m. church when we first had babies.
No.
In BYU student family housing.
Oh, no. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I am curious, does it bother you that people say that?
No, to me it's a
it's
compliment.
funny.
To me it's a compliment when people say like, "Oh, you're happy, you're beautiful." And also, you know, in a day and age where there's so many ads on YouTube. I mean, like I do some workout videos here and there on YouTube. And so of course all my advertisements are about weight loss and looking better and this face cream and this makeup and that lift. Like those are all the advertisements I get. It's really frustrating. I watch other things on YouTube, not just workout stuff. But wouldn't that be great if one of our ads for our church was, do you want to look better? Do you want to have bigger smiles? Do you want to have more light in your eyes? Well, it's just have the missionaries come over or just knock on your local Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saint door and we can make you so much more beautiful and happy.
No.
Like if that's what we're getting called out for, great. That's what people love. They want to look younger. They want to look happier. They want to look more beautiful. Come to church.
Yeah. I'm personally, I'm not offended at all by the they look so happy portion. What I do take a little bit of offense to is the implication that it's because of polygamy and inbreeding, and as if we're still all doing that and whatever that may be. Like, that's just weird. Like, she is literally going out of her way to make it seem like Mormons are weird and creepy and marrying their first cousins left and right. You know what I mean?
Or like some kind of genetic engineering or something. Or
Yeah.
Intentionally only picking spouses from this gene pool. So frankly, sometimes I'm like, I don't want my kids to go to BYU and get married, because then they're going to marry someone from like New Jersey, and then family reunions are going to be a challenge because you have to like, all of that. But no, and how many people marry people from their missions, or not from their missions? You know what I mean? Like
that they met whilst
or who go back and love the culture so much that they want to marry someone who's from the culture, and very broadening kind of experience. And so I don't know, but I will say, okay, so if you're at the airport or at the beach or somewhere and you think you've spotted another member of the church, what is the telltale sign? Like what do you
BYU shirt, BYU hat.
Okay. BYU gear, that'll do it for sure.
They're walking around
and
Disneyland.
long shorts. The cutoffs that Megan hates so much.
The Bermuda shorts. No.
I'm so guys, when I'm driving in my car, I always get so excited when I see someone with a BYU sticker or any sort of church stuff on the back of their car. I get so excited, like, oh, there's a member on this same road, and I want to like pull up next to them and wave. And when I turn into the church parking lot, that's always my first reaction. Oh, there's so many members here. Oh wait, I'm at church. Of course.
All right, and if we can pull up the article. So this is the article that goes along with the video. So she starts out saying, why we all look the same. Of course, because we do not. And then let's see, she talks about.
Can I just jump in and say, I love that a subheading for the article says, this lady escaped the Mormon church in 2017. Escaped? Kind of a wrong word choice.
Why?
So I love that you belong to a dangerous cult when, in order to escape, you just sleep in on Sunday. Oof.
Yep.
I know.
Not that hard. Not that hard to escape.
And you might wake up to some cookies on your front doorstep, and then that's it. Like, wow, maybe I should escape more often. Yeah.
Everyone just wants to be a victim in their own way, but I think it legitimately robs actual cult people who have escaped. Like, come on, let's not take away from their experience by pretending the Mormon church is somehow equally oppressive.
I just got chills, Riley.
That was at all.
Oppressive at all. Thank you. Yes.
The church is the most liberating thing that I have ever experienced. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
But that's because you're brainwashed.
Oh, stop it. If I hear that one more time, I swear. Okay. So, all right. Anything else in that article? Can you guys see it? What else in there stands out to you that we could talk about before we move on? We've got some more fun stuff.
One more thing that I noticed about the video really quick was how she was talking about how Mormons aren't allowed to marry outside their religion. But here's the deal is I feel like everyone wants to find a spouse who shares their beliefs, because that's a great foundation for marriage. Whether you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or whatever it may be, you want to find someone with whom you agree so you can build a life together. Marriage is hard enough if you don't share beliefs. So of course we're looking for other people who share those,
No, Riley, only Mormons marry Mormons, and no other religion ever wants to marry someone else of their religion. We are just on our own.
We're so crazy.
Thank you for putting me in my place. You're right. That was my bad.
Yes. Jeez.
Did you guys meet? Go ahead, Megan.
I'm sorry. I just really wanted to commend you, Riley, for that awesome point you made. If we use clickbaity words such as escaping when we don't really mean it, it really does, for lack of a better term, dilute the experiences of people who really are escaping abusive situations. I don't know this woman's backstory, so I do want to be sensitive if she felt that she had to stay in this religion. But I just wanted to emphasize that what you said was really important and needs to be heard. We shouldn't be throwing around these words like escaping a cult when that may not be the case. So thank you for bringing that to the discussion.
Yeah. And I think so often when people say the church, sometimes what they actually mean is my dad. Like
That's a good point.
They say the church was so strict and the church made me ashamed of my body. The church made me this. And in reality, it was actually just their dad who maybe had some clumsy things to say or what have you. And then when it comes out later, it's, putting that on an entire organization when really it might've been a family problem.
Sure. Yeah.
I love to talk about how she feels about baptisms of the dead.
Ooh, yes.
Baptisms for the dead in all caps.
For the dead. That's right. Not
for the
of
dead, all caps. The creepy practice. Okay, let's do the video clip. This is good stuff.
Did you know that Mormons probably know who your great-grandpa is? Yes, you. Watching the video currently. At least if your family has been in the United States for several generations, they probably do know. The Mormon Church collects meticulous records on family history. This includes looking over census records, going to graveyards and collecting information from graveyards. So they're definitely getting this information about the general populace. It doesn't matter if you're Mormon or your family is Mormon. One of the largest databases of family history is owned by the Mormon Church, and it's called FamilySearch.org. You can log in and add your info, and it will likely connect you to a vast databank of names going back to the 1700s, 1600s. It's not just because they want you to get connected with your ancestors, it's because they would like to baptize these names. They believe that everyone needs to receive a Mormon baptism in order to go to the celestial kingdom, the best version of Mormon heaven. And so even if you aren't Mormon, it is highly likely that your ancestors have been baptized to become Mormon.
Okay.
I don't hear any problem in that one. Everything checks out.
Next.
Okay. Well, but it's not, the first part, yeah, that is true. We keep really great records. We've got lots of cool family history stuff. But then she does this weird oh, but did you know it's because they're super creepy and they're baptizing dead people against their will? Just turns it into something really odd.
Okay, and back up for just a second. So, again, are Mormons the only people that are interested in their ancestors? No.
Absolutely not.
There's 23andMe, right? I have friends, right, that are super interested in that. And they have their whole lineage and look what country my ancestors are from. Oh my gosh. It's not just a Mormon thing. And for her to say that we're creepy because we want to know our ancestors, what? And because the church is interested in our ancestors? No, everyone's interested in what they're coming from, right? How many of us have kids? How many of us, on ourselves, had a mom that kept a baby book? And do you like to go back and look at those things? My kids all the time are like, Mom, what age did I do this? What did I like at this? What did I like at this? And I think that's just such a microcosm of the macrocosm of learning about your ancestors and learning where you came from. That's not a Mormon thing. That's a human experience thing. So anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. She talks about Family Search. Family Search is an incredible program, open to members, non-members, to anyone. I'm very familiar with it. I've been to their big Roots Tech conference in Salt Lake several times. And Family Search, so the church, like she said, we gather lots of records and we upload them onto Family Search that anyone, anywhere can access for free. Census records, military records, any record you want. It's there and they upload them more every day. Now, I feel like she's implying is that when people at Family Search or volunteers, when they upload names to this site, that immediately any member can access them and just go to the temple and be baptized in their behalf so that they can become Mormon and go to the highest Mormon heaven. That is not what happens. So all these records are uploaded and they are just there for you to see. People index them. So instead of just looking at old pictures with hard script, people go through and type out the names so you can easily search what names are on these records, and anyone can find their ancestors. So if you are a non-member and you go on Family Search and find ancestors' names, you can link them onto your tree. You can find out more about them. You can find pictures, stories, and it's incredible. At Family Search every year, they usually have celebrity guest speakers. Kristen Chenoweth has been there. Sean Acid, Samwise Gamgee. They had LeVar Burton from Reading Rainbow, and they show these celebrities their family history and they present them with this amazing book and they're just moved to tears. everyone can be so benefited from family history. It gives you a sense of belonging, a sense of identity, gives you confidence. It answers questions about who you are and why you are who you are and where you are, why you're where you are.
No, Charlotte, you have to be a brainwashed Mormon to want to know those things.
No,
What?
genealogy is up there with gardening as one of the most popular hobbies. And, MyHeritage and Ancestry.com, you have to pay for all those sites. Family Search is all free. That's how much the church cares about anyone learning about their ancestors.
And you cannot print someone else's ancestors. They have to be yours.
They have to be yours.
You actually cannot go in, take a stranger's name to the temple. They have to be in your line, somehow connected to you, or you're not allowed to print them. So that's a full-on lie from her.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go.
Okay, and along those lines of taking your own family names to the temple. Okay, I got this straight off of the church's website about baptisms for the dead. And I want to make this point very clear. Even if we indexed a name and then a family member takes that name to the temple, are they automatically part of the Mormon religion? No. We believe that they have the choice, even as a dead person in the spirit world, they have a choice to accept or reject. And those people's names are not anywhere on the membership record, right? We're just doing the work for them on behalf of them in the spirit world. They're not considered a Mormon here on earth. It's not automatically that they're going to be a Mormon in the afterlife. They have to choose or reject. And I think a lot of people don't know that or just don't believe that that's what we believe.
Or they try to paint it like we're like forcing everyone into this religion, like forcing these poor innocent dead people to accept our version of heaven or whatever it may be. It's just giving people the opportunity to choose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's important to. Oh, go, Deegla.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So I don't know the lady who did this video. I don't know what her thoughts are about what happens to a person's soul or spirit or whatever after they die. But I imagine it's different now than what so if people think that like when someone dies, nothing happens, well, then it doesn't matter. If we're performing a baptism for their ancestor, why would they care if their ancestor is nothing? We know that when someone dies, their body goes in the ground and their spirit, they're still them. They're still them. They can still think. They can still choose. They can still weigh options. They can still be influenced by other people's words and opinions.
They have their agency.
World. And
what? They have their agency.
They have their agency. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Much more simply said. Thank you. And so when you know that people who have died still have the ability to think and choose, then this shouldn't bother you because you're like, oh, well, that was nice, but no thanks. I'm not interested. Or, hey, I've been wanting that. Thanks.
Well, and even more so than it not bothering people, this principle of the gospel is actually probably the reason that I'm a member of this church and not another Christian church. Because I cannot wrap my head around the idea that anyone who hasn't heard the message of Jesus Christ in this life, who wasn't baptized, didn't invite Jesus into their heart, is automatically damned. I cannot get behind that. Little children who die, who were not baptized, who are sent to hell, I cannot get behind that. And so the fact that our church has a doctrine that addresses those unfair parts of what would be otherwise unfair is why I love it so much, because it's the most inclusive doctrine I have found anywhere. Because you don't have to have received it here. You don't have to have even not messed up here. Like there's an opportunity for everyone. And I just love this doctrine. So
it's been said on Word Radio many times before that our God is the only God who has the power, the desire, and the plan, like the system worked out to save all his children.
Everyone.
Yeah. Friends, if you don't mind, I kind of want to address the people who got here through a great algorithm and may not be members of our church or familiar with the church. I just want to make it very clear when we say baptisms for the dead, nobody's going to the cemetery. Nobody's going to the morgue. Physical bodies are not disturbed in any way, shape, or form. We don't believe in that. I had the privilege of serving as an ordinance worker. That means that I helped people out in the temple. And I can tell you from firsthand knowledge, it is a beautiful spiritual experience where a patron will bring in literally a tiny slip of paper with their loved one's name on it. And it is so not magical. I have to choose my words carefully. I'm an attorney. I know better than that. It's spiritual and it's sacred that people get to act as proxies for their deceased relative, and they are baptized in the temple on behalf of their deceased relative. I've even taken those little pieces of paper after the baptism, and I can tell you the only thing that happens is basically nothing. Nothing. To Charlotte's point, I believe it was either Charlotte or Tikla who said that they are not automatically uploaded into this Mormon directory. It is up to them in the afterlife to either accept it or not, which Brittany explained earlier. And I just wanted to make that very clear. If you're new to our faith, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Ask your questions in the comments. This is a safe space to learn about our faith. And it's not creepy. I promise. It's really not creepy.
There's going to be a big party, and we want everyone to have an invitation. You don't have to come. You can shred it and burn it, but we want you to be invited.
Yeah. Right. And I don't know if it's just because I'm like sitting in Quaku's chair right now, but I want to be like, but it shouldn't only be our church. It's every Christian. Like, who's read, what is it? 1 Corinthians 15:29. Apostle Paul did baptism for the dead in the Bible. So it's like a Christian thing that somehow just our church is doing in the present day. Why is that?
This church is just doing it more efficiently is the difference here.
Tika and I talked this morning, and she said, if anyone who thinks baptisms for the dead are creepy or wondering what they're like, she said, well, just go to a regular baptism at your local chapel. It's exactly the same. There's just the font, you get baptized and you get out and you're done. I loved how this influencer is repeatedly using the word creepy to describe the baptisms for the dead. Yeah, she describes them as creepy. That's one of her big things. And first of all, I just went to the temple, and guys, the temple is so creepy that I took a little nap during it. It was just that creepy. It was just that creepy and peaceful and calm and beautiful and creepy. And also, I think it's so funny. If she is so concerned about saving the youth from this creepy thing, she should get rid of Halloween, because that's pretty creepy too.
I love Halloween. I don't care if I love the creepy, I guess.
A lot more scarring haunted houses that do more damage to children than baptisms for the dead.
She is specifically going out of her way to make it sound as creepy as possible. Yes. Like she chose the word graveyard instead of cemetery, I think on purpose.
Yes. Well, and I think this is a distinction, maybe following Megan's lead a little bit, for someone who's unfamiliar with our faith, is that we are a highly spiritual faith. Like, spirituality is a big part of it. And when I've talked to friends who are just learning that I'm a member of the church, sometimes they're like, oh, so are you like, do you want to talk about demons and like lucky numbers and like, and like ghost stories? And I'm like, well, wait, what? So I think sometimes when people hear spirituality, they think of this more like
new age,
mystic, new age. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they might get the wrong idea when we say things are spiritual. If we have a spiritual experience, we're talking more like guardian angel stuff.
Sacred
not
experience.
Not like creepy, gave you the shivers kind of spiritual experience. And I think maybe we don't, since we're so insulated in what we believe as spirituality, we might not realize that some people are thinking about it that way. And so this woman is playing on that and getting people to think of this in that creepier way. And just to tell a little story from my own childhood, when I was 12, my only wish for my birthday, I didn't want any presents or any party. I just wanted to go to the temple for the first time to do baptisms. I was one of those primary kids. Okay. But it was especially fun because my mom's a convert. And so I was able to take a name to the temple that's my great-great-grandma, and I have her name. She was from Sweden, and I have her name. And so in my little yellow dress, I got to go to the temple with my ancestor's name, and I was baptized for her. And I had learned her story and I felt so close to her, but I had never met her. And so I was able to, after all I knew that she'd done for me to make me exist, I felt like I, as a 12-year-old girl, got to do something for her. And that was so special. And I felt so connected to her, and I feel so connected to her now. And I think going into my teenage years, knowing I'm not just me, I'm also Tikla, daughter of Shauna, daughter of Marjorie, daughter of Virginia, daughter of Tekla. And it's like I had this whole army of women who knew me and who were looking out for me and who I could make proud with my choices. And that is something incredibly powerful. And I know Charlotte could speak to all of the benefits of knowing your family history, because she's a guru on this topic. But
so you were 12? You were 12 when that happened? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is another thing where Mormon face, like, I did not have that experience when I was 12. Like, that's beautiful. And I don't want to take that away, but like, I wish I thought more of like that when I was 12, but like that's beautiful. Okay. Like, Tikla, like, you are just light years ahead of me, I feel like.
Well,
because
my parents were amazing. My parents brought me, right? Like, it was, I wouldn't have known to do that. That was, you know.
Yeah.
So blame your parents, Brittany.
Right. And I was like, I got great parents too. But like when I was 12, I was like, I want the birthday presents, you know, like. But I was going to say, okay, so Tikla, like, that's beautiful. Like, you were 12. I had good parents here that brought me in the gospel, but maybe I was just more of an immature 12-year-old because I was like, bring on the birthday presents. Like, I was excited to go to the temple. I never thought baptisms for the dead were creepy. I always had a great spiritual or sacred experience. But maybe that's more of like the Mormon face thing of why, like, I really don't like that girl's video about Mormon face, because we had two different experiences. They were both good experiences. I wasn't always hating the temple as a 12-year-old, but I wasn't excited. Like, Tikla was like that at 12. I wasn't like that at 12. And then also it's like, this might be, you might want to edit this out. I don't know. But I just thought of this also with Mormon face when we were baptizing for the dead. I think Charlotte brought this up a little bit. Like, if you don't believe in the afterlife, like, why would it matter? Like, you don't believe anything happens. I kind of had this thought as I was thinking about this podcast. I was driving around today and I was kind of thinking of this. I was like, wow, well, you know, say we get up to heaven and Alyssa, is that her name, Alyssa? She's right? And the Mormon religion is a false. Say we get up to the gates. They're going to look at me and be like, well, you missed out, right? On earth, you missed out. And I want to be like, well, what did I really miss out on? Like, I didn't drink alcohol. Okay, so I was saved from making morally bad choices and abdominal weight gain from alcohol. Like, I was saved from that. Cool, you know? But if we get up to the gates and her ancestors are like, why didn't you do this for us? Like, you missed out on a lifetime of all these blessings. She's going to have a lot more to say. Shoot, I missed out on a lot. And that's always what I'm thinking. Like, what do we miss out on from being Mormon? Really, if you think about it.
Exactly.
Okay,
we just live our best life. What?
Oh, I was just saying, she tells us in her article what we missed out on. She says, you can comprehend the massive chokehold this cult has on the mind of those who are taught to believe. I want to help people escape and live a free, full life, unlimited coffee included.
Oh my gosh.
Coffee we're missing out on. And guys, you know what?
She's right.
I think Starbucks is funding her channel.
If that's the biggest takeaway, where we're missing out on coffee from being in this religion, I'm sorry. I think I'm in a pretty good religion if that's all I'm missing out on.
I think the benefits outweigh the cons.
Exactly.
Seriously. It's like that square. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I think it's Pascal's square of belief or whatever. Like, if you believe and you behave like you believe, you win everything. And if you believe, but it turns out to be false, then you lose nothing. But if you don't believe and it turns out to be true, you lose everything. It's a square and it's got those things. And that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah.
Look that up.
Well, and she alludes to the highest kingdom or the highest Mormon heaven. And this has been bothering me in a lot of stuff that I've seen online. This idea that we're somehow gatekeeping, like we're gatekeeping heaven somehow, like we think we're better than everyone else. And this idea has been really bothering me. And I've been thinking about it and trying to explain it in a way that will land for people. And this is what I've come to, is that I think it might be easier, instead of thinking of heaven as a place, but to think of it as a state of being. Like if there's two people in a room and there's like the homeless shelter volunteer and the serial killer, and they're in the same room together, they are technically in the same place, but they're in a different state of being, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so
like a dimension.
Almost like there's things that the serial killer will never get to experience that this, shelter volunteer is experiencing because of the kindness in their heart, because of the orientation of their soul. They are experiencing life in a happier way, in a more deeply peaceful way, right? As opposed to somebody who's living with bitterness or with the weight of sin with no redemption, right? And so it's not that we think that we're better than people and that's why we get to go somewhere better. It's that we're being invited to become someone who you'd want to be around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think of heaven and I think of getting to live with people where everyone is looking out for each other. Everyone's families are connected. Everyone is honest. Everyone is, these kinds of virtues that we're trying to acquire. It's not that we want to be better than everyone. It's that we want to belong in a place where people are good. I want to be the kind of person who could hang out with that caliber of people.
And we want to elevate everyone with us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're begging you to come and join us. Please come live this way. It's so much better than being bitter and sad. And
I think when anti say, if we make the argument, no, we just want everybody, which I see. And that's what I feel that we just want to bring more good and more joy and everybody, open the doors to everybody. Because we have requirements to get, like worthiness requirements to get in the temple, worthiness requirements to get baptized, because we believe in following commandments, because God knows what brings us joy. Like he's older and wiser than we are, and he kind of knows the path to joy. It's not random. It's like a proven true way for joy. Because we have commandments and because we have worthy requirements, I think antis see that as we are gatekeepers. Like, no, you can't come in unless you follow our rules. When really we're saying everybody's invited. There's a few things that you need to do, but the things that God asks you to do really are just to bring you more joy and more freedom now and forever.
And I think that it is important to emphasize being a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is not a spectator sport. That's the best way I can explain it to people. Just because you got baptized doesn't mean that you get to go to the temple. It's a very sacred space. There are interviews before you get to go. This isn't a matter of you just show up and we have all of these privileges that we are, quote, gatekeeping from others. That's not it. We have callings. We're required to participate in tithing. There are a lot of different things that we need to do, but we are here with open arms, hoping that anybody who's interested will come and hang out with us.
Yeah. And it's important to know, too, you don't have to be perfect. Like, you can be a flawed individual and still go to the temple. So.
Exactly. Yeah. I was just going to say, I think how many of us have never broken any of our promises to, like, I'm constantly not living up to what I'm supposed to be doing. It's less of what am I doing and more of where am I aimed? Like, where am I heading? Mm-hmm. Am I aimed towards trying to be better? Or am I aimed towards letting go of everything and just doing whatever I want?
Yeah.
If I'm aimed towards doing everything I want for myself or everything to try to be more like God, like, because I'm constantly failing. It's just that I have the desire. I want to, and therefore I can have the atonement cover me. Yeah. And so it's, Yeah.
It reminds me of, was it Elder Kieran's talk about Christ removing roadblocks? Like, that's just kind of what this reminds me of. Like, there are roadblocks in our life. Like, I have a tattoo. Like, I don't shy away from that. Like, I've been very honest. I struggle with tithing and I struggle with garments from time to time. Like, it's just, it makes me so sad for this person to think that she thinks we're in a cult and everything is, like this. And if you get a tattoo, you're shunned, like, I don't know, like we're some other religion that does that. I can't even think of one right now. But Christ, literally, his atonement has encompassed everything. He has removed all of the roadblocks. He wants you in his house. He wants you to want to be in his house. And I think that's where a lot of times antis or exmos, they forget, or they just choose not to believe that we're actually nice people. Like, we have Mormon faith, we're happy and friendly, right? But it's because we are focused on Christ. We're not focused on this world.
And if you need help, it's there. I just want to share, when I came to the studio, I was talking to Brittany and I said, I will not watch the last episode. I started crying. I'm so embarrassed. I don't want to read the comments. And Brittany said something beautiful. She was like, well, I'll go through them. I'm very protective of you. The backstory of how we all met is another episode in and of itself. I don't even know if Tikla, Charlotte, and Riley have legs. Like, we've never met in person, but somehow God brought us all together.
Yep.
And this is this is such a sacred space. I've prayed for this because I can't really talk to anybody in my family about it because I'm the only member. But the point that I'm trying to get at is we're here for one another. We're here to support one another, but it does take a little bit of effort to find that tribe. And I'm just thankful that I found mine in Word Radio Women.
Yay.
Little piece of heaven. If we go back to the article really quick, though, that was beautiful. Maybe we just end on that. That was gorgeous. But if we go back to the article really quick, I do want to address the fact that she refers to the temple baptism experience as traumatic.
Oh, yeah.
And this goes back to what I said in the very first episode we did. I just kind of have a hard time with this raised in the church privilege going on again.
Yeah.
Where it's like, your childhood was so good that trauma is getting water in your eyes. Like,
yeah, dunk after dunk after dunk. I couldn't recover.
I mean, they told those kids, can you breathe?
Again,
No, bam, bam, bam. Oh my gosh.
Seriously, it's robbing like people with actual trauma. Again, it's the same thing.
Yes.
What was
Thank
that
you.
term that you used, Tikla? Raised in the church privilege? I've never heard that. What did you say?
Well,
Tikla made it up. It's awesome.
You weren't there for our first episode, but I just come across this all the time where I find that former members of the church who were raised with incredible father figures and families that were tight, raised in the church, and then they leave and they assume that baseline masculinity, baseline friendliness, baseline neighborliness is what they grew up with. And then they call trauma on these things that are, if the rest of the world could have even a little bit of what they had growing up, they would be so happy. So that kind of concept is what I'm referring to.
Awesome.
Or like, okay, I have this great example of this. So I saw this comment online, and maybe this isn't very kind of me to be sharing it, but we don't know who it was. So
It's okay. Let go of your Mormon face for a second.
So he says, yeah, I moved into a predominantly Mormon neighborhood, and they came over with a loaf of bread and they offered to cut my lawn. But as soon as they knew I wasn't coming back to church, they never came back again. And I was like, okay, let me get this straight. Hold up.
Baby.
So you moved into a new neighborhood. Your neighbors brought you food and did your yard work, and now you're complaining? Like, this is like classic church privilege where it's like, well, yeah, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what all people do. But what they should have done was keep doing my yard work, even if I didn't come to church. It's like, I'm pretty sure they were just being neighborly, invited you in to the neighborhood, and they weren't planning on being your landscape company. Like, they were being kind, whether you were going to join the church or not, or come back to church or not.
And it better not be the same type of bread. I want a new loaf of bread every week. I want to try pumpkin. I want to try banana. I want to try zucchini. I want to try it all.
Sorry, guys. I'm baking for a lot of people. You're going to have to relax.
Back to what you're saying about, we were laughing how she described just being dunked over and over again and getting water in her eyes and how traumatic that was. So I learned probably my second time doing Baptism of the Dead to just keep my eyes closed until they were all finished. That was very helpful.
Same, because I have
if you
contacts.
ever decide to come back, what?
I said same, because I have contacts. That was probably the most traumatizing. If I opened it up, they were falling out.
So if you ever come back to church, you're always welcome. Just remember that little tip when you do Baptism of the Dead. Keep your eyes closed. Also, you should probably try doing names from like foreign names, because if you're getting baptized for foreign names and the person saying the prayer, you know, like Sister Barnes, I baptize you for and behalf of, really difficult to say foreign name. It takes that person a long time to sound out that name. And that gives you some extra time to take a breath and recover before your next baptism. So
You're
those are
genius.
2 little hints. Next time you do baptisms, do those things.
And then it's like a
Baptism
little
hacks.
game, like, will I let out an audible laugh or will I hold it together? I don't know, but this is fun,
Right.
you know?
How much will they butcher his name?
Especially now that the priests are doing the baptisms. It's so sweet. But sometimes I'm like, oh, are you going to crack up? That was a good name. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, so really quick before we end, circling back to Mormon faith, have you ever been approached and asked, are you a member of the church unexpectedly? Has that ever happened? I'm curious now.
I don't know. Like, I'm not an overly friendly person. Like, so I don't know if I ever have like Mormon happy face. I gotta try and like really think hard about that, which is
Kind of
actually
wear
kind of
BYU
sad.
shirt, you know.
I did when I was a missionary and I was wearing a name tag.
Oh.
There you go. Okay.
No, I've been asked, and I especially love asking other people. When we first moved out of Utah after grad school, Jonah and I lived in Arizona, and it was one of our favorite games was, can you guess the church member? Of course, back then we called it, can you guess the Mormon?
Yeah.
And we'd be at the park with our kids at a splash pad or something, and we'd look for families. Like, okay, they look really happy. They've got some kids. They're pretty clean cut. They're laughing a lot. I think we can ask them. And we were right most of the time. It was
You'd
pretty
be
great.
so judgmental and judging these people as you stare at them. Like, were you checking to see if they had sleeves or their pants were long enough too? Come on.
I
Did they
was,
look
and
like
then I
my
went
dog?
up to them.
How dare
And I
you look
went,
to connect with
"Shame
other
on
human
you."
beings?
When I was 13, I was in a cafe in South Korea, and I had a random person come up to me and ask me if I was a member of the church, and it was very surprising. And so apparently, I have a sticker somewhere.
And was he a member of the church as well?
No,
Oh,
he wasn't.
Oh,
okay.
But
He was looking for the glow.
Yeah.
I
Pregnant
guess
women and Mormons, they've got it.
Maybe
We're
he was
glowy.
looking to like help us like, you know, improve our gene pool, you know?
Oh,
Like who's looking.
I was 13, so
Oh, yeah, that probably would not be very good.
Future mindset.
Yeah.
There.
Oh, you guys, this is so much fun. Well, thank you all for being here with us today. We are the Women of Word Radio.